Hello there. I have this message for the British government. You have days to save this nation's haulage industry. Failure to act could well bring the economy down. Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big fat like. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check my YouTube channel daily. By asking the people of Britain to stay at home, the government has inadvertently pushed Britain's haulage infrastructure to breaking point. Goods do not deliver themselves, and the government has made nearly zero provision for the working practices of haulage companies across the UK. The drop in the amount of goods moving around the country has fallen so low that the Road Haulage Association, the RHA, reports that 46% of lorries have been taken off the road and are now standing idle. There are no big concerts and events taking place, so no need for organisers to spend millions of pounds on moving their gear from venue to venue. No movement of things like bricks or furniture or clothes. No stocking up of restaurants and public houses. No aircraft landing at airports containing goods that need to be transported on. Container traffic into seaports has dropped, so nothing to drive either to or from the ports. And also less is being transported by rail, one supposes, so no need for lorries at railway stations. You get the idea. The only things that are moving in any great volume are basic foods from source to warehouses to supermarkets, and medical supplies like PPE to hospitals, surgeries, dentists and care homes. But what of the government schemes to help businesses, I hear you ask? Won't that save the haulage industry? Well, the Road Haulage Association's chief executive, Richard Burnett, recently warned that many firms are now in danger of going out of business permanently. The measures the government have come up with simply don't work, he said. An average haulier will make maybe 2% margin. They'll have 2 to 3 weeks cash flow within their business. We've got hauliers at the moment who can't even furlough their staff because they have insufficient cash to pay those employees. We need cash. We need grants. We need help to balance and normalise this cash flow problem, and the loan system simply doesn't work at this point in time. And he went on to say that the government needed to be more radical with its financial support, and also said that one haulier had parked up his fleet of 170 trucks and told its drivers that it'll be like that for 2 or 3 months. And I too am hearing reports and horror stories of large hauliers shutting up shop with disastrous knock-on effects on subcontractors and self-employed drivers, many of whom are paid through their own little limited companies and are left with no ability to pay their overheads. And as for furloughing employees, as Mr. Burnett said, there is no cash flow to furlough them with. And small businesses make up 85% of the UK's transport market. Further, the courier.co.uk points out that industry bosses fear financial support measures are too inflexible for haulage firms who are at massive risk from banks and fuel suppliers suddenly withdrawing credit. But we have relaxed the limit on how many hours truckers can drive for, so they can drive for longer and work harder. But can you imagine not being able to stop somewhere for a loo break or maybe a shower or to relax over a hot meal because all of the services have been shut down? Now, if these hauliers do start going under, then it may result in many more trucks and drivers being taken out of circulation. Some of those trucks and drivers that we are relying on right now to keep the food shelves stacked and the PPE flowing to the hospitals. And further, when we do come out of lockdown and the ships start arriving, the aircraft start landing and shops, restaurants and pubs open up again, who is going to be moving all of that stuff and in what? Certainly not bankrupted firms and drivers with worthless lorries that no one wants to buy in case there's a second lockdown. That's for sure. The haulage industry is part of our national infrastructure. In effect, it's a utility. It uses our road network in the same way that electricity uses power lines to get to our houses, or water uses pipes to get to our taps. Or possibly more accurately, like blood uses our arteries to transport oxygen and nutrients to various parts of the body. And we all know what happens when the blood doesn't flow properly or even stops, don't we? Without all those trucks and truckers, there is no UK economy, or at best a very strangulated form of one. The country therefore needs to be able to turn that utility back on with the flick of a switch. But if the RHA is right, at the moment we are headed towards a road haulage blackout. And it sounds to me like the government has overlooked this essential item. In short, the British government has not just abandoned hauliers and self-employed lorry drivers, but in doing so has risked the entire infrastructure of the UK, which depends on goods and raw materials being delivered to businesses across the UK, including supermarkets and frontline medical services, that although they may be prioritised at the moment, they are not the mainstay of the British economy. To our Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, I say this: your unprecedented measures are worthless, and the only thing they are unprecedented in at the moment is in how completely ineffectual they are. Both you and your reputation are on the line. And the same goes for our Transport Secretary Grant Shapps too. It looks like Mr Sunak has his priorities firmly linked to his past occupation working for the banks. And there could be a complete disconnect on his part of understanding that the country's needs are not the same as the bank's needs. Mr Sunak, you have demonstrated unprecedented tunnel vision when it comes to supporting mechanisms for industries of the UK economy outside of banking. All with a dose of unprecedented and worrying levels of smugness, whilst the country is falling apart around you and people are thrown into destitution and poverty. There is potential of your own personal reputation to become so tainted by your reckless handling of the situation that your name will be synonymous with unprecedented levels of mockery. Boris Johnson, I am glad to see you're getting on your feet again, but you yourself will not escape the venomous criticism for the irresponsibility regarding our economy, which is heading your way very soon. Empty shelves make empty ballot boxes, and don't imagine that a no-confidence vote is out of the question if the nation's infrastructure collapses, all stemming from allowing our transport infrastructure to fail. Without a haulage industry running like clockwork, there is zero chance of any recovery. And without a robust haulage system, Mr Sunak, your precious banks will find themselves in a lot of trouble, as will the whole system. Mr Johnson and the rest of the government, you need to understand that the people have consented with the government on things such as paying tax and abiding by the law. Do not take this as a given, when you and you alone have dismantled their means of providing for themselves, their families and their futures. You cannot make excuses for the collapsing haulage industry other than to own up and admit that you had absolutely no idea of the impact of your measures on that industry, and the fact that your one-size-fits-all system for business support is deeply flawed and unworkable for most industries. But you need to act now. As Churchill used to say, action this day. Mr Johnson, Mr Sunak and Mr Shapps, you are running out of time, and without heeding and acting on the cries for help from British businesses that you put out of business to save the NHS, a day of reckoning will come for your government and your legacy. And where is the funding for companies to pay their overheads, the loans taken out to expand, the funding for commercial rents? Asking cash-strapped businesses to apply to take on more debt that might arrive at some point in the future is not the answer for already cash-strapped businesses, especially when only a minuscule number of businesses qualify for those loans. Rishi Sunak, your proposals border on the hypothetical. If you think companies can survive your requested halt to capitalism without state aid, then your stupidity is unprecedented. Now, the problem has been identified. The haulage industry should be given the same sort of treatment as those in the hotel, restaurant and leisure trade. A system of grants that enable all those involved to get about, say, 60% of their normal money, and then allow them to vie for the remaining trade out there to top it up. And maybe tie that in with waiving business premises and vehicle taxes. But I do have to say that Mr. Sunak appears to be shying away from giving anything directly to anyone who runs their business within a limited company. He seems averse to replacing directors' dividend income with public money. Now, why would that be? Now, I don't know, but a couple of things about this spring to mind. The first is maybe that it's just downright illegal to do it. Who knows? But also, if the state replaces dividend income for some, then it would presumably have to be done for everyone, like hedge funds, pension funds, people with personal share portfolios, etc. And presumably every company could then suspend share dividend issues, knowing that their investors would not lose out. The bankers would milk us dry. Then there's the thorny issue of corporation tax. If the Chancellor can navigate through this crisis without having to resort to directly propping up limited companies themselves, then after the dust has settled, could he argue that it would be unfair to expect big limited companies to fork out more in corporation tax for something they did not directly benefit from? If not, then the public will expect those limited companies to do an awful lot of heavy austerity tax lifting, won't they? But I would assume that all workers will be expected to pay more tax to pay for the debt built up by supporting the self-employed and the employed who did benefit. Now, I'm not saying any of that's correct, just thoughts that occurred to me. But I will say that the initial shine this government had for me at the start of this crisis has faded somewhat. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all this bailout stuff? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.